So, my husband and I bought an abandoned home built by apprentices of Frank Lloyd Wright. If you're from TikTok, it's great to see you here. I'm going to do a little recap and give some background info. So, if you have already heard it or you don't care, go to this spot in the video. The home is located in West Virginia. It's been unoccupied since 2008 and unmaintained since around 2018. Basically, I had heard about the house around town and found the owner online. I reached out to him on LinkedIn. We chatted for around 4 years and then he decided to sell. Basically, the apprentices and their son were the only ones who lived in the home. The apprentices passed away. Their son inherited the home, but he didn't live locally to take care of it. Their son had made some modifications, the largest one being the roof situation. So the entire area that's like the green zip board around was done by their son, and that's not how the house originally looked. He also removed some walls, removed the kitchen and the bathrooms. The worst of the damage over the years was the roof was leaking, so there's rotten wood and there are broken windows, and of course the brush was completely overgrown. We've only owned the home since like mid-September. We've removed a lot of brush and bamboo from around the house. Thankfully, my dad is in the business of driving large machinery, so we were able to rent a forestry mulcher and get rid of a ton of that bamboo. We will be excavating and then also using some herbicides. I know the bamboo situation is very concerning to everybody. A lot of people have said we should have never bought the home just because of the bamboo, but I'm feeling optimistic and we do understand it'll probably be an ongoing problem. So that's that. We'll be doing a lot of things ourselves and with the help of my family. I have my architecture degree, so I will be doing some drawings. Rest assured, it will not turn into a white modern box. I was waiting to do the full house tour once the bamboo was gone because it was truly so dark inside. So now that there's finally some light, we can get into the long-awaited house tour. Hello, everybody, and welcome to my house. The home was built by husband and wife apprentices of Frank Lloyd Wright. They studied at Taliesin West for about 5 years, and then a few years later, they moved to West Virginia and built this beauty. The apprentices were Chinese, so you'll see some Chinese influence. Mrs. Sheng was a classical Chinese painter, and Mr. Sheng was an engineer. We're starting at the view coming up the driveway, and as you see, they had a carport, and there's also a little garage area. They didn't build this all at once. Like, these decks were added much later. The seller, who is the apprentice's son, is still removing some belongings. Mrs. Sheng planted some bamboo and it got extremely out of control. You used to be able to see this side of the house from the street. This portion is in pretty decent shape, but this area has some water damage because it doesn't have that same overhang protecting it. The stairs are falling apart. You can see the bamboo roots go all the way up to the block, essentially. When we bought the house, you couldn't see any of this. The bamboo was completely up against it and covering this entire backside. Mr. and Mrs. Sheng were very resourceful and liked to use local materials, of course. These posts were a telephone pole. Here's that really classic Frank Lloyd Wright feature, destroying the box. All right, we're going back to the front. This block feature wall is one of my favorite things about the house. Supposedly, the orange blocks were stained by clay and they couldn't get them clean, so they decided to make a pattern. This is one way to enter Mr. Sheng's office. The deck feels quite tired, so we try not to walk on it too much. The doorways are pretty short because they were really short. This is not even 6 feet tall. My head hits it walking in. Lots of engineering books. It's the drafting board. This is a glass floor above that you could walk on. And here's a doorway to the stairs to the next level, which are rotten. There's this teeny tiny Brandy Melville door into the bathroom, or what used to be the bathroom. Here's another example of that corner detail. These were apparently chairs from a McDonald's that was going to throw them away, and Mrs. Sheng wanted to rescue them. All right, let's go inside. The first thing you see when you walk in is the fireplace. The house is said to be structured around this. So this is the main focal and structural point of the house. This was originally a skylight that's been enclosed. Let's get a 360 of the fireplace. You step down into the living room area, and this steps back up into what was her jewelry studio. This door just connects into the rest of her workshop.
Our neighbor told us that Mrs. Sheng would sit here and work, and she loved having the windows open so that she could still enjoy the outside while working inside.
There are still some of her pieces of pottery here as well. And she used this buffer wheel for the jewelry. This area right off the entrance is where Mr. and Mrs. Sheng would sleep. These were their bed frames that they built themselves. Mr. Sheng seemed to be a really skilled woodworker. He also made an original version of this table, and this is a replica. Of course, the walls are removed now, but this was their son's bedroom, and this was the bathroom. Here's the small door into the office that I showed earlier. This area was the kitchen, and the stove was under that window. They've got gorgeous built-in shelves here, and this shelving was also used as kind of bar seating, and they had stools on this side. This is one example of Mrs. Sheng's abstract artwork. And this sofa, of course, had handmade cushions. You see the cushions stacked here. This is where the house originally ended, so these were just windows out to their porch. And so these still open up, and they enclosed that area later. More built-in shelving. And this is filled with classic Chinese literature. These are the stairs that are rotted, so you can only access the upper level from the roof. Mrs. Sheng is said to have hand cut every single piece of glass for this house. Having this threshold that you step over is something from Chinese culture that they implemented. So this is the portion of the house that saw the most damage. We've got water damage here, but most of this glass is intact. This is another spot where there was a skylight. This was kind of a continued workshop area. Mr. Sheng would do his woodworking here. The ceiling in this part is really cool. We had a leaky roof here, so all of this wood is rotted, and every time it rains, these buckets will get filled up. So we just did a temporary patch on the roof. This is where Mrs. Sheng did her pottery. She's got a big kiln back here. This leads out to the greenhouse. These doors would open up, and the greenhouse did have a roof, but most of the glass was broken, so we disassembled it. There were trees growing between the pavers out here. Here we've got the back deck. This was one of the first areas we cleared out so that we could access this area to get a meter put in. We officially have electricity. So this roof plane that the greenhouse roof was connected to slopes toward the house. They originally had a gravel roof that would filter water and collect into their cistern, which is here. It sounds like they stopped using it once they got city water, but that's why the roof is the way it is. There were boards with like a shutter mechanism that they would add on top of this overhang to shield more of the sun from inside, because this is kind of south. This upper portion was modified. It used to be all glass. They had a small guest room and a small bathroom. So this portion that was added has just a standard pitched roof with shingles. It obviously was not finished. They just wanted to get it closed off, and the floor of it is what the original roof material was. There was a snake living here, but we haven't seen him, so he may have moved out. The guest bathroom that was up here ended somewhere in this area, and back here was the guest bedroom. This is the part above the office with the glass that I showed earlier. You can really tell how short the level is. There's this beautiful Japanese maple right off of the greenhouse. The bamboo had grown all the way up to this side of it, so we're hoping now that it's gone, it'll be revived. Thank you so much for watching. There's like 40,000 of you on TikTok already, and I'm so grateful to get to share the story of the apprentices, and just honored to be able to work on this house and share it with you guys. I hope you enjoyed the tour. If you have any questions, let me know, and definitely let me know what other content you want to see.